Welcome, everybody, to the Fallbrook Climate Action Team. This is our January 2025 meeting, and we're happy to present two people from San Diego Community Power, Zio Crespo and Kate Regal. We've had in 2023, right after we became part of San Diego Community Power, we had a presentation, but now by default, we've been on it for a couple years, so we can find out what's going on right now and find out what our experiences has been with them. And just a reminder, in case you haven't been with us before, just to let you know, we put on monthly presentations except for December Zoom meetings the last Tuesday of every month with a speaker related to climate change. And we don't have our next speaker set yet for February, but I'm sure we're going to have an outstanding one for February. And if anybody would like to volunteer, we could use some help making reminder calls to people. So if you'd like to do that, just let us know in the chat and we'll get back to you on that if you leave your phone number or email. And so we'll get started now. I'll turn it over to Zio and Kate. Take it away.
Fantastic. And thank you, Joy, for not only coordinating this presentation this month, but for the warm welcome. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and you all can scream and shout if you don't see it, but hopefully you do, and it's clear. Okay. So welcome, and thank you for your interest in San Diego Community Power, and again for the hospitality, the virtual hospitality. My name is Xiomali Crespo. I also go by Cio, and I am San Diego Community Power's Senior Community Engagement Manager. I wear many hats in this organization. The last time that you heard from us in this group, we were probably really, really tiny, and we've experienced a significant amount of growth as we have enrolled all of the member agencies that we serve today. But with that said, I lead our outreach and public education efforts, which is why I'm talking to you all today. I also oversee a community advisory committee, which is a 14-member body made of community members from each of our member agencies that advises our board of directors to catch the needs and perspectives of our very diverse set of communities. And last but not least, I do also program-specific outreach and community-based organization engagement. So if you are a community-based organization or local nonprofit, I want to hear from you. I want to collaborate with you. And I want to make sure that we are aligned when it comes to our goals, when it comes to getting to that 100% renewable by 2035 or earlier than that. And in the meantime, perhaps I can just go ahead and get us started by walking us through what we'll be talking about today. So we have a pretty packed agenda, and the presentation today is designed to kind of give you an update on the wide range of actions our organization is taking to procure or buy 100% renewable energy at affordable prices and to our customers and deliver it to our customers by 2035. So we will cover who is San Diego Community Power. So we will give a refresh for those folks that may not necessarily have a solid understanding of who we are. That is completely okay. We are specifically talk about our formation and customer base, as well as our competitive rate setting. And then we'll also move on to talk about our current initiatives. So power purchasing and how we go about our power purchasing strategy, customer programs, including solar battery savings, which I hear that this group has a particular interest in, as well as the community clean energy grants, which is actually out of my shop come the next cohort. We'll also be talking about flexible load and the San Diego Regional Energy Network, which are, is a really exciting new venture that will bring, millions of dollars to the region. We will then cap off by talking about policy influence or some of the things that we are doing in Sacramento, DC, and locally to be able to move our goals forward. And then we'll finish off with local community engagement and how to get involved. So, Kate, is that better?
I'm not sure. You tell me.
Much
Can you
better.
hear me
Yes.
now? Oh,
Yes.
amazing. Okay.
So I'm going to turn it over back to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. So for our agenda today, we are going to cover a lot of ground.
I already went through that. So you can just go
Oh.
ahead straight into Senior Community.
Okay. Thank you. So San Diego Community Power is a community choice aggregator, or CCA for short. We are a not-for-profit public agency that was formed back in 2019 and initially provided electricity to customers in the cities of San Diego, Chula Vista, Encinitas, La Mesa, and Imperial Beach. And in 2023, we enrolled National City as well as the unincorporated communities of San Diego County. And we're now the second largest among the 25 operating CCAs in California, and we serve nearly 1 million customers. We are governed by a board of directors that includes one elected official from each member agency. Here are our board members for 2025. For Fallbrook, your community power representative is the San Diego County Interim Board Chair, Tara Lawson-Reamer, who represents unincorporated San Diego County. And like CEO said, we are supported by our Community Advisory Committee that includes 2 community representatives from each member agency. Your community power representatives on the Community Advisory Committee are Peter Anderson and Ross Pike, who was recently appointed during our January board meeting. You might know Ross Pike as he is part of the North County Fire Protection District and the Fallbrook Community Planning Group. We currently have 2 vacancies for the cities of Chula Vista and La Mesa. So Community Power was formed to bring cleaner and more renewable power to the region by purchasing energy on behalf of its communities. San Diego Community Power is different from a traditional investor-owned utility in a few ways. And one of them is that we do not own or operate the energy grid. So all of the power lines and infrastructure is handled by SDG&E. And Community Power purchases energy by contracting directly with renewable energy providers. This allows us to bring competition and more local control into the energy market, enabling us to negotiate for a cleaner and more local energy at competitive rates. We reinvest revenues into community projects, incentives, and programs. And all of this work is key in achieving 100% renewable energy by 2035 or sooner. How San Diego Community Power is different is one of our top questions that we get when we are out and about. And so let me quickly go over what changed and what didn't change when we came on the scene. So you're still receiving one bill from SDG&E, and now we are just included in that bill. You should still contact SDG&E if you're experiencing any service reliability issues like blackouts. Your rate structures remain the same. And San Diego Community Power customers are still eligible for discounts like CARE, FARA, and Medical Baseline. And ultimately, your day-to-day hasn't changed. We worked hard to ensure that the transition into our services was as seamless as possible to our customers. What did change is that you're now receiving energy at more competitive rates of higher renewable content, which includes solar, wind, hydropower, and geothermal. You have access to a knowledgeable and responsive customer service team who is happy to walk you through every step of the bill and address your questions and concerns. For our net energy metering customers who generally have solar panels on their roofs, they are paid more for their excess electricity generation, and they now have the choice to be paid monthly as opposed to yearly, or to pay monthly as opposed to yearly. And we have dedicated revenues going into reinvesting into our communities with new programs addressing local needs. Our organization is not unique. Over the last 22 years, 25 similar agencies have been established throughout California and serve more than 14 million customers throughout the state in every major city. They provide more than 14,000 megawatts of clean energy the equivalent of approximately 10 million homes. So some ways that community choice aggregators are reducing electricity costs is first on-bill savings. So in 2023 alone, community choice aggregators collectively saved their customers $760 million compared to non-CCA counterparts via long-term power purchase agreements. We have also leveraged the power of green bonds. The California Community Choice Financing Authority has issued nearly $10 billion in prepayment bonds, saving CCA customers about $60 million per year in accelerating the clean energy transition. And finally, CCAs have programs that help customers lower their bills. So CCAs design programs that help customers realize the benefits of the clean energy transition, as well as reduce their electric costs. San Diego Community Power sets its rates through a transparent public process. Since Community Power began serving customers, we have sought to create predictability for our customers by setting rates once a year that take effect on February 1st. As you can see on the chart, since we came on the scene, not only have we kept our rate stable throughout the year, but SDG&E has adjusted how often it changes rates as well. We see this as a testament to how competition in the marketplace benefits all customers. Community Power aims to empower our customers to make choices about their electricity, whether they want to invest in the cleanest, most renewable power available or the lowest cost option. The least renewable and lowest priced option is called Power Base, which customers can opt into at any time. And the product that most of our customers are automatically enrolled in is called Power On, and it's our 51% renewable option. We also have Power 100, which is an option that customers can opt up to get 100% renewable energy. The cost is about $5 to $7 a month more than our Power On service. And finally, last year, we introduced Power 100 Green Plus, which is an 100% renewable option for organizations that are seeking to be Green E certified, which can help with LEED building standards. We now have nearly 1 million customer accounts enrolled in our service. Those accounts make up a total load of 8 million megawatt hours per year. And for perspective, this is about 5% of the total load in the state of California, making us the second largest CCA in the state. But despite our size, we have a participation rate of over 95% across our service territory. By comparison, the average participation rate for Cal CCA members is 91%. Most of our member agencies have a fairly high participation rate, but notably Encinitas and the County of San Diego have slightly lower rates than the others. And we haven't conducted a scientific study to determine why, but we believe there are some critical different factors for each area. For Encinitas, the Encinitas City Council voted to enroll all of its participants in our Power 100 option, which costs more than our standard service. And in the County of San Diego, there were mass communication efforts during enrollment from some elected officials to encourage customers in unincorporated regions to opt out. In both cases, our contact center documented that the main reason people were saying they were opting out was because they didn't want to be automatically enrolled. However, by the laws that govern CCAs, customers must be automatically enrolled. And it's that enrollment that enables customers to then have the choice to switch back at any time and choose their energy provider. While Community Power continues to provide education, we respect that one of the major benefits of having a CCA in San Diego is empowering customers to choose whichever service they feel meets their needs best.
Thank you, Kate. And that was kind of an overview of who we are and how we are different than the traditional investor-owned utility. Now let's talk about some of the things we're working on since you last saw us. So starting off with our power purchasing. So when it comes to developing our energy portfolio, we look at three things: compliance, value, and risk. We have a variety of state, local, and agency-specific goals, including renewable energy targets and having enough backup power on hand to meet peak demand, which we also call resource adequacy, and maybe a term that you're familiar with. While we do all of that, we could all of that at a high cost. We're really cognizant of how customers are already paying some of the highest energy rates in the country. So we have a dedicated team of experts who seek to find value in energy markets so that we can pass those savings on to our customers. Specifically, Community Power abides by our renewables portfolio standard, what we also call RPS. We're crazy about acronyms in this field, which is a policy that requires energy providers to supply a minimum amount of energy from renewable sources. Community Power's renewable portfolio standard goals are more aggressive than the California state mandate, which requires the state to run on 100% clean energy by 2045. Our stated goal, as I mentioned earlier, is to meet 100% that target by 2035, though some local jurisdictions have goals that are even earlier than that. And one of the biggest challenges in meeting these goals, and I need to point that out, is the high demand for renewable energy and very limited supply. Energy markets are also volatile and correlated to natural gas prices. So since Community Power only entered into the markets a few years ago and, officially enrolled, the unincorporated communities of San Diego County finished enrollment about less than a year ago, since last April, we have had to rely on short-term transactions and spot market purchases to provide the energy that our customers need. However, the best way for Community Power to overcome the challenges with renewable energy and the resource adequacy markets is to enter into what we call power purchase agreements, or PPAs. These agreements are long-term contracts that provide Community Power the fixed price for power or battery storage. They support our renewable portfolio standard and resource adequacy goals affordably and sustainably. And in 2024, just 7% of our power came from PPAs, again, talking about that short market. However, the team has been working hard to strike agreements with new projects that are expected to come online in the coming years. For example, we anticipated that approximately 55% of our power will come from agreements like these PPAs, or like long-term agreements, by 2028, and more than 70% of our power will come from them by 2035. In alignment, the team here has been working diligently to bring those some contracts to our board of directors for approval over the past few years. So if you're ever curious as to how one of these look like, as Kate mentioned, we set our rates as part of a transparent public process, and we do all of our business as part of our public meetings. So to date, we have signed 13 long-term PPAs, and that is enough energy to power nearly 800,000 homes. We've also entered into 14 contracts for battery storage that can cover almost 500,000 homes at peak usage. And as I mentioned, you are able to take part of all of our public meetings of the board of directors and our community advisory committee. So again, if you're curious to learn more, we're happy to point you in the right direction. Okay, so our rates do more than just buy power, however. They also allow us to invest in customer programs that ultimately contribute to the overall affordability of energy in our region. So with that said, I wanted to start off with one that I think piqued the interest of this group, and I'm happy to elaborate a little bit on. Our solar battery savings program was actually a pilot program that was launched in July of last year, and provided an incentive to single-family residences that installed solar power and battery storage. This program helped boost the struggling local solar industry after the shift from net energy metering to net billing tariff, which you may have been aware of. And it supports local resiliency for high energy usage periods and creates resource adequacy budget savings. A couple of our goals here was to install solar and storage in single-family homes throughout Community Power territory, and with a specific focus within communities of concern, and a specific goal there. Then also to support clean energy and reliability overall, as I mentioned, as well as leveraging non-community power incentives for our customers. So making sure that these incentives could be stacked with other state and other local incentives to make sure that as much of the total cost of that system was covered. and ultimately building strong relationships with our customers and the industry. Through this program, we're basically reallocating procurement costs to pay our customers for their actual battery participation. And I'm happy to dive into a little bit detail of what that is. So in here, I know that this is a lot of information, so please feel free to ask questions about it, but the top table shows the program incentives. So if we look at the middle column titled Market Rate First, there is not a one-time upfront solar incentive for these customers, but there is a one-time upfront storage incentive of $350 per kilowatt hour based on the manufacturer's usable nameplate capacity. So to be paid within 30 days after receiving the permission to operate letter. So you needed to work directly with the the manufacturer to be able to access this one. In addition to the upfront incentive, there is also an ongoing performance incentives of 10 cents per kilowatt hours for actual battery performance. So this is basically the kilowatts per hour discharged to the home and or the grid during a daily dispatch, which is a 2-hour window in 2024 and in 2025. The daily dispatch will always coincide with the on-peak periods along with the high export values. So this is also paid on an annual basis and it lasts 10 years. Onto the non-market rate column on the right, this is for our non-market rate customers that can include Carafera customers. And Carafera, if you're not familiar, is their specific payment assistance programs, and these are our customers who are income qualified to be enrolled in a total discount of the bill, and or our customers in communities of concern. So our low-income priority populations and what the CalEnviro screen, if you're familiar with that data collection system, basically refers to disadvantaged communities. These customers have a solar upfront incentive based on kilowatt AC up to $450. The one-time upfront storage incentive is up to $500, up from the previous one based on the manufacturer's usable nameplate capacity. The ongoing performance incentive is the same for the actual dispatch doing the performance. This program was really popular. So the program actually opened up in July and it closed in November 8th to new applications due to the budget being fully allocated. And there was more than $11 million allocated for this particular program. In terms of customer participation, and we just have some rough numbers and now that some of those batteries are, well, the solar, the panels and batteries are now operating. So we had a total approved projects of more than 1,600, which is about an 87% approval rate. And then the total approved batteries were 2,249. Total projects paid, I want to say at the beginning of the month were 208 or 13%, but those projects will be slowly paid as they are installed. The average incentive that got paid out through this program is almost $7,000, with our non-market rate customers accessing an average of $8,469 for that. 55% of customers had additional solar added, and about 18% of those customers had a solar incentive. So with that, we are talking about enrollment of 7.4 total megawatts, which is a big deal. And as you can see here in the member agency breakdown, the unincorporated San Diego County numbers were pretty high up there. So we're glad to see that there was a lot of implementation of, and this program was popular within that group. We've also received a lot of, encouragement to explore what the next iteration of this program can look like. So we are specifically also looking at evaluating feasibility for a non-residential pilot. So really looking at other types of facilities in order to see what a pilot project could look like. And then we're also featured as a case study in the Department of Energy's virtual power plant liftoff report. So it's caught the attention of some big names in the game, and we're happy that it's getting highlighted as a potential model for the rest of the country. Okay, but solar battery savings is just the start. We are starting similar efforts with other technologies, including smart thermostats, air source, and hot water heat pumps, as well as electric vehicles. And all of this work falls under our flexible load strategy, which seeks to compensate customers for reducing energy consumption during those peak hours. This benefits our entire customer base, of course, by helping reduce resource adequacy needs, which in turn can reduce overall cost as well as the demand on the grid. Moving on to some exciting things happening within my shop specifically. So the goal of our grant program, which is called the Community Clean Energy Grant, is to fund community-based organizations and nonprofits to implement projects to move communities towards a healthier, more sustainable, clean energy future. And over the last 2 years, this program has injected nearly $2 million into local nonprofits to do things like, for example, add solar and battery storage to their facilities, provide education on electrification, and develop curriculum to really get the kids to begin thinking about potential career paths in the green industry, and then as well as incentivizing workforce development opportunities for youth, again, to enter the solar industry, which is certainly something that we want to incentivize, and it's under our mission and vision. And last year, in 2024, San Diego Community Power, in partnership with the San Diego Foundation and Calpine, awarded over $1.2 million dollars in grants to 16 organizations, which is the organizations that you see in here. And keep an eye out for the next round of grants if you know of a local nonprofit who could benefit from this program, as we are preparing to roll out the next cohort or cycle of this grant program pretty soon. The last heart program that I wanted to talk through is the San Diego Regional Energy Network. So last year, Community Power teamed up with the County of San Diego to establish what we call the San Diego Regional Energy Network, and we abbreviate to be SEREN. And this particular effort will bring about $125 million in energy efficiency programs to all San Diego residents, not just Community Power member agencies. The REN, so RENs have been serving California, since 2012, but San Diego was really one of the major metropolitan cities that didn't have a REN. So programs that are funded through the SEREN are technically separate from the work of Community Power and can serve residents throughout San Diego County, even if they're not our customers. To receive approval, it was a massive, community effort. So we received support from dozens of local stakeholders, including business, community-based organizations. Ooh, I'm in the office. Public agencies and environmental groups. And this regional support really did help Community Power and the county's application months ahead of schedule. So this type of application needs to be submitted to the California Public Utilities Commission, and it was approved in record time. So we were really glad to have the whole community back us up on this one, and we really look forward to implementing and the programs that are associated with energy efficiency on their REN. So this is just to kind of give you a flavor of what the budget and kind of what the major sectors that we're hoping to hit with this particular effort. But our team is working diligently to launch about 10 programs over the next year or so, and they will help a variety of different customer groups, including residents, businesses, and public agencies. Now, incredible things like the REN, they really wouldn't be possible without our legislative and regulatory team's advocacy, which is why I want to just make sure that I'm highlighting that we do have a full-time employee serving as a senior legislative manager who is based in Sacramento, and top-tier lobbying firms in Sacramento and DC. We also conduct advocacy missions to Sacramento and DC to meet with policymakers so that they can better understand our needs. And we also coordinate with CalCCA, which is our statewide trade organization, to coordinate on policy positions. Our leadership at the state and local level has actually resulted in over $100 million in savings to San Diego customers, and this all really translates into what we're doing locally. So in terms of our local government, our team works really closely with our member agencies and all their staff to be able to check in with them, and then also support some of their own initiatives, such as like climate action plans and different other types of sustainability projects and pilot programs that they're cooking up. I'm going to turn it over to Kate one last time to just go over some of the good work that we're doing with local community engagement. And I see that there are some questions coming in the chat. I'll do my best at the same time to answer them, and if not, get some clarification to be able to do so. But Kate, take us home.
So for local outreach, our community engagement team tables at many events to spread the word about community power and answer customer questions in person. Recently, we have been at the County of San Diego Earth Day, Movie in the Park at the Fallbrook Community Center, and the Spring Valley Library. This is a very small snapshot of our 151 events that we attended in 2024. We would love to do more events in your area, so please let us know where you'd like to see us in the future. And someone already put it in the chat. One of our upcoming events is the Home Electrification Fair in Encinitas on Saturday, February 22nd. We would love to see you there. Next slide, please. You can stay informed about our work by signing up for our newsletter, following our social media channels, and we would love to hear from you. We have a customer feedback survey out. So if you go to the last link there, you can fill out our survey. And before we open it up for questions, thank you for letting us speak today. If you have any questions in the future about your bill or any topic we discussed today, don't hesitate to contact us via email or call our customer contact center. And thank you so much. And now we'll turn it over to questions.
Yeah, happy to answer any questions. And I'm going to answer the ones that I see in the chat as well.
Yes, go ahead, Russell.
So one thing we're doing here in Arizona is promoting community choice energy, we're calling it, but it's where the thing I've been working on quite a bit is a spreadsheet that projects how much CO2 savings there would be, how much water savings there would be from the power plant cooling that wouldn't have to happen anymore with 100% solar. I figure 100% solar could be reached in about 9 years. The CO2 reduction on a life cycle basis, life cycle of coal, life cycle of gas, life cycle of solar, etc., it comes out to about 98% savings in 9 years if we can get to 100% renewable energy in that period of time. And I'm wondering if you have anything like that or any kind of models, that project that kind of thing.
We're talking about do we have any kinds of models that check for like the overall reduction in GHG emissions?
Right, GHG and water and also cost, but you probably have the cost nailed down pretty well in your model, in your literature.
And I think that that's a great question that I'm happy to follow up with, because I'm not sure that we follow a specific model specifically, because we don't necessarily have them either. I have to get back to you on that one, just because I can't think off the top of my head whether we quantify it as part of like GHG reductions overall. But I know that we do support some of our member agencies with quantifying some of that work, and we do know, for example, that as part of like overall GHG reductions, the goals that we have, and as well as the sustainability goals of our member agencies, opting, being in a community choice aggregator is one of the easiest ways for you to meet them. So I'm happy to follow up with more information on quantifying GHG reductions or not. So I owe you that, Russell.
And one last related question, thanks, is when do you think you'll get to 100% system-wide renewable energy, including energy efficiency, of course?
2035 or sooner. That's the goal. Right now, what we're really focused on is getting those long-term power procurement purchases online. We've experienced a couple of delays because of the volatility of the market, but we're really, the plan is to get them up and running and functional to our customers by 2028. So after that, I think that we'll be able to assess, whether we'll meet that goal even earlier. Hopefully we do.
I love the energy efficiency aspect that you're focusing on. I think it's fantastic. Thanks.
Thank
I have a question. This is Don. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So Do you know if San Diego Community Power is working on a feed-in tariff that actually works? It's the policy that catapulted Germany into being the leader of solar electric in the world. Basically get paid for what you produce. You drive around and you'll see warehouses, massive warehouses with massive parking lots that have a very small solar array to offset on-site usage. And there's all this space that has the potential, but it's not being utilized. So I'm in the Clean Energy Alliance, and to the best of my knowledge, they haven't come up with a feed-in tariff that actually that works. And it's a matter of rates. You pay someone X amount per unit for a commodity, and it's there. So it does away with a lot of unnecessary negotiation. It's just, well, you have a rooftop or a parking lot and you pencil it out, and either makes economic sense or not. If, for instance, San Diego Community Power is willing to pay X cents per unit.
Yeah, and thank you for the question. Right now, we do have a feed-in tariff program. We're technically administrators via the California Public Utilities Commission. So there are requirements of the program that I think we don't get to skip in the way that you mentioned because of it. So right now I can link it on the chat what it is, but it's just we're just the buyers of the electricity. We don't develop or build or own the generating systems. And right now we do have a like a solicitation open in which interested developers of land interested in kind of collaborating with us in this way can submit bids to. But the program requirements do make it tricky, as you so mentioned. So perhaps that is an opportunity for us to kind of like lobby for in order to make these type of programs relevant.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop it in the chat right now.
I noticed we have some folks here from Arizona. Are you all in the same group?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have
Hi.
do you have an CCA operating in Arizona or in your area?
No, we want to. So we are trying to get enabling legislation, and
Yeah,
Arizona is much different state than California.
Right.
So we're
yeah,
it's a
Yeah,
challenge, but there's a lot of us wanting this to happen and working on
right.
it.
It was a few years ago that we got that enabling legislation in the state, and then we had to go through the additional hurdle of having our county enable the
Right.
legislation. So
Right.
it's a couple of different steps. We had to get the state enabled the local municipalities or counties, depending on where you lived, to operate a CCA, but then you had to convince the local politicians to do it
Yeah.
also.
Right.
And technically CCAs were enabled by legislation in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it was like
wasn't
2005. That was
Yeah.
AB 117. I lived there when that happened. So
Yeah, but it wasn't until 2010 until Marine was actually the
Marine
first
Clean
one.
Energy is
Yeah,
formed.
yeah. So and since we've certainly seen the exponential growth of them, because I think that once you get through that first regulatory hurdle, I think that other places show interest in it as they see the value, and then they kind of get to band together
Right.
to workshop all of these issues and problems that we're all going through for the first time together. So it's an
Right.
exciting place to be in, but I will say it's not without challenges. That is for sure. So keep fighting the good fight.
Yeah, we're trying to educate the state, different cities around the state like Tucson and Phoenix and the big metropolitan areas about this, so that we don't have to start from scratch once we get enabling legislation. But they already know about it, they're interested in it, so we're trying to build that demand right now.
Harriet, would you like to vocalize your question?
Absolutely, and thank you very much for the opportunity, Joy. And I really appreciate this presentation. I'm here with Shelley and Russell from Arizona. We're trying to get enabling legislation passed. I think community choice aggregation is a great model that could answer a lot of questions for our state. One of the things I'm looking at right now is trying to sweeten the deal or make CCAs really attractive to local policymakers. And yeah, I'm curious what kind of I understand that San Diego Community Power is a nonprofit. I'm kind of curious about what kind of local programs or grants, or if you give money to back to local governments in your area. Our governments are looking at across the state are looking at budget shortfalls right now, and that's something that they're concerned about. So this I see this as potentially being a solution. Community choice aggregation as being a solution for a lot of municipal budgets in Arizona.
Yeah, and that certainly resonates here in San Diego. I don't know if you keep up with the news, but we are also experiencing our own difficult times budget-wise, across the region, but most, notably in the city of San Diego. And we do collaborate with our member agencies. We do regular check-ins with them, and by them I mean the staffers for sure, all of the sustainability departments and the folks that are leading all these efforts within their own member agencies, as well as our board, which is made up of elected officials of each of our member agencies, to kind of better understand their needs and how community power can help. With that said, we do have a member agency grant program that provide a small, I wouldn't say like it won't fix a budget shortfall, but a small, a small funding opportunity for member agencies to explore pilot programs and different initiatives that they wouldn't have otherwise, or to support existing programs. We are typically really flexible when it comes to our member agencies. We found that has really worked, not only in fostering goodwill with them, but also in really just seeing what innovation can breed, for sure. So those are some of the ways in which we collaborate. In terms of programs specifically, we do also we have a community power plan, and I forget to mention that we have a community power plan that is basically the blueprint of where our reinvestment is going to be going to over the next 5-10 years. And we have short-term, medium-term, and long-term, and those are some of the needs identified directly by the community when it comes to what they'd like to see out of this type of revenue be reinvested into the community. And you wouldn't be surprised that the first and top priority was driving down those bills, because affordability is and cost of living is a real concern, especially more progressively so as of late. And that is certainly a priority of us, which is why this rate setting process has been really very, very interesting, and it's been at the front and center of our minds.
I would just add that one of our arguments when we were trying to get this legislation passed with some of our more conservative politicians was that community choice energy gives local control to communities and to individuals for their power consumption. And I think that's a great argument.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Joy. That is a great point. That I think at the end of the day, ultimately, it's about choice. We, by law, had to automatically enroll residents, but that doesn't mean that they didn't get to choose to opt out. And even if they opt out, they can opt back in. And we have actually seen that. We've seen some opt-backs, I guess, as we have started to roll out our programs and folks want to take advantage of those. But at the end of the day, this is a way for us to open up this process to the public. And we have public meetings of our board of directors, and we have, the voice of the public really matters into what we do, and it's really codified in our Joint Powers Authority, which is technically the type of government agency that we are.
How do I'm raising my hand, but
Yeah.
if I can ask, how does the public, what does that look like where the public says, we want, more charging stations in our community in this particular, section or ward or however you refer to it? How does that end up being a program? Like can you talk us through that process a little bit?
Yeah. So and I'm happy to drop that. Maybe Kate, you can drop that link in the chat. So as part of our community power plan, one of the very first things that we did was a community needs assessment. So we paired up with community-based organizations who are, who have the ties to the communities that a unknown entity does not. We paired with community-based organizations who are trusted messengers to be able to host listening sessions, workshops, and to really be able to pitch like, hey, okay, based on what we heard, this is some of the things that we're planning. Are we on the right track? And then we not only took it to the board for public consideration, we also, included the significant feedback of our community advisory committee, which is the way in which the voice of the public is codified in our decision making as well, by having two community members of each of our member agencies, or of the cities and communities that we represent, being part of the folks that get the whole gamut of presentations, of staff reports, in the strategic planning sessions, in building this type of project. We also and by we, I mean my team. So because I lead our community engagement efforts, we have our finger on the pulse. So we really do communicate that up the chain. And we also work really closely with our member agency staff as well, from what they're hearing out and about, boots on the ground.
Great. I love that.
And then I wanted to address the question that came in the chat about when I lived in Montana, we paid 13 cents per kilowatt hour, about a third of what I pay here, and the power came from hydroelectric. Once we get the renewable infrastructure paid for, can we expect our rates to start decreasing? So community power is actually only on the hook for the generation side of the house. So we don't actually own the infrastructure. We buy the power from those existing infrastructure facilities. So with that said, we are always looking for opportunities to lower the bill as much as we can. And as those power purchase agreements come online, we will start seeing even more savings. But right now our rates are competitive with the investor-owned utility, and they're slightly lower if you are in specific service levels. Actually, a quick plug in here, their next rate setting process will actually be taking place at a board meeting happening on February 7th. All of this information is on our website. I'm happy to post the links as well. But just making sure that transparency is important to us, and just accountability to what we said we would do, and actually doing it is important. So just wanted to make sure that this group knew that was something that was also going to be happening.
Well, I just want to reinforce what you're saying, that you don't own the grid. SDG&E still owns the grid. And last year, there was an effort in San Diego to purchase the grid from SDG&E and for another proposed utility that would do that. And some people were disappointed that San Diego Community Power didn't really participate in that, or didn't help to advocate for that. Do you know why that was? Because that was something that could have really helped us free ourselves from SDG&E completely.
So
just another comment here. I'm the person who posted about Montana, and
Yeah.
we had two things going for us. Number one was a big giant dam, which was long ago paid off. It was expensive when it was built, but then of course, once it was built, it just maintenance costs, which were very low. And the other thing is that we owned the grid. So the power company was actually a nonprofit co-op. And so as a result, I mean, it really frosts me that we send $1 billion a year to SDG&E for the privilege of using their grid. I just think their profits are kind of excessive. And so really, I guess what I was getting at was, if the grid charge stays fixed, which we can't really force SDG&E, they apply for rate increases all the time. But if the renewable, the solar panels and the renewable sources start to, basically they buy stuff, and solar panels go down in price all the time. So once the solar panels and the wind generators are paid for, then we might hope that the power is going to be less expensive, because we aren't paying capital costs anymore.
It's tough to say, because SDG&E is a for-profit corporation, and they're actually not allowed by law to make money off of the generation. It's only in the infrastructure side of the house. And it's tough to say what they will choose to do with their business model. With that said, I will say that I believe it was called Power San Diego, was one of the initiatives that was out and about. As a government agency, we cannot weigh in on any, we cannot lobby for a citizens initiative like that or something that could potentially be on the ballot. But we did closely monitor it, and we also closely monitor efforts from our member agencies to that are looking into what would municipalizing the grid would even look like. So right now, we do know that the city of San Diego has a feasibility study that they've been conducting on what would that buying the grid would be like, and I hear it's very expensive. So it's a complicated topic because there's multiple players and it's a lot of money at the end of the day.
Yes, it is complicated and expensive. I guess I just figure it's going to get more expensive in the future. And, if we bought it and then paid it off, got a low cost, low interest bond or whatever, in 20 or 30 years, it would be paid for. And then we would be, at a maintenance cost as opposed to right now SDG&E's for-profit business model. So yeah, so it just seems like we would get a much lower costs if we could. I mean, $1 billion a year represents $300 per year for every man, woman, and child in the county. So, when you look at that, and I don't know, it just seems really expensive, just for the profit, not for the actual cost of using the system. Yeah.
Sure.
Do you have any kind of estimate of what the municipalizing San Diego County would? Do you have any dollar figures to attach to that? Because
it depends on who you ask.
That's happening in Tucson, and
yeah, it really depends on who you ask, and it depends because I feel like the consultants who were paid to do the study had a very different figure than what the local utility had last time I heard it. So it's quite a penny. What I can say about community
$1 billion is it $2 billion? I mean, what are we?
It's more than that. I mean, it was a long time ago, but it was about 8. So,
Wow.
and there was a lot of potential savings, I guess, associated with that. But that's a hard bill to upfront, and I can't say what will actually happen, but I can say that community power right now, we've been operating and serving customers for 4 years now. So like we are really looking to be financially stable as a top priority so that we can drive down those rate costs.
Question. As far as driving down the electric cost, is San Diego Community Power actively involved with any microgrids?
Microgrids, they're always part of the conversation, and I think that there's several programs at the state level also incentivizing microgrids that we're always open to. So right now we do have a internal goal of about 15% of our total procurement to be from local infill. And we're hoping that, having microgrids in that conversation could support us in that. So we're always open to exploring what that possibility looks like, because we're always looking at how to make that grid more reliable.
Thanks.
Fantastic.
I was going to ask Mark Friedman, are you still here? Yeah. Would you like to talk about more about the home electrification fair?
Not sure that I hear him, but San Diego Community Power will be there. And this is one of the many events that we are hoping to meet community members at. So if there's any other events that are on the radar that you think would be good for Community Power to be present at, if there are groups that you would like to, for example, for us to either provide an update like this one, or even to provide a how to understand your energy bill workshop, we're more than happy to collaborate. So just reach out to me directly. I'm going to put my information in the chat.
So the Avocado Festival will be in Fallbrook in either March or April. That's a pretty big community event for tabling.
And I believe we went there not this last year, but the year before that. So again, thank you for the hospitality.
One thing I wanted to ask about is, like I just looked at the Lawrence Berkeley Lab list of power purchase agreements, and they have like 1,000 PPAs on there, and they have a bunch that are just solar with battery. And for California, it's quite a bit higher in price than Arizona, but New Mexico is really cheap, and Arizona is really cheap on the low cost on the power purchase agreements. Those are expected to go down quite a bit. Our average cost in Arizona is 4 cents per kilowatt hour for solar with battery. And even for the 100% matching, when you go up from 20 or 30 or 50%, go up to 100%, those are 4 cents per kilowatt hour. And I'm thinking that's heading down toward about 2 cents by 2030 per kilowatt hour. So that should really reduce the cost of energy quite a bit, to the ratepayers.
And we do have some of these PPAs in, out of state. Back to because we see the value for sure. But back to that, I guess, commitment to like the workforce and just making sure that we are procuring locally as well. I guess that's a balance that we play. So it's, like making sure that we are getting, the best ROI, especially seeing what the market is doing nationwide, but also keeping in mind that we want those jobs. We want to keep those jobs locally as well. So we have a criteria that does consider that as part of evaluating our PPAs.
If there are no other questions, then I guess we'll sign off. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your work with us, and thank you to all the audience member and the folks that came from Arizona. It's great that you guys are working on this across the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And please don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to chat. And I hope that you all have a lovely rest of your night. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting it together, Joy.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.